The sun was rising anew when I made it back home. After the, how to put it? Screw it. After Alice and Viomi finished screwing one another in the unavoidable bout of passion released by the procedure of weaving, the part of the affair the rest of us did not stay to witness, though it looked like Mrs. Baizan did feel a little excluded, the newlyweds rejoined their guests for the rest of the glimmering. I wanted Alice to know that she was, in fact, the most important person to me on that day, so I stayed until the very end, doing my best to forget about the book and the ritual. But now it was go time. I could sit there gathering courage until I fell asleep. I have never casted a spell before, so it was a touch, or a punch, scary. But anyone who knew me would tell you that my curiosity always trumped my fears. So I opened the book on the bloodied page, and lo and behold, my life-giving fluid had turned blue and became a smooth, dry shape, not at all crumbling like regular blood would. That meant only one thing. It worked. It worked. The sleepiness was gone. The remnants of the inebriation gone-ish, and I was ready for action. I set the book down on the floor and drew a red heart around it with a piece of brick. See, this was one of the parts of this ritual that would make it really difficult to summon an evil ghost. They just didn't respond to hearts that eagerly. I stepped out of the shape and fixed the edges a bit to make them firmer, thicker, just bursting with love. Then, a few deep breaths, and I began to say the incantation, in the language of magic. It was really helpful that there was a pronunciation guide on the side of the page. Ferry had outdone himself. The incantation was rather long, but it didn't matter. I'd known it by heart forever. Luckily, it didn't require any singing or chanting those fancy crescendos or whatever mages usually do when using the language. It's always about the crescendo, right? What does that even mean, crescendo? Ah well, if my soulmate turns out to be a mage, I will ask him before hanging myself on a string of socks. Ino, I said. The final word. The drawn heart began to glow, and the bright edges extended up towards the ceiling. I glanced towards the window to see if nobody would get alerted by it, but the street was empty. Just me and him. I had never been this excited in my life. I was so excited, I didn't even feel excited. I think I became excitement. The light began to fade, and I saw a shape behind it, a silhouette. Holy beavers, did it actually work? Suddenly, I was spooked. It was great when the idea remained in the realm of fantasies. But I had really gone and done it, hadn't I? And then the glow faded completely. There he was, standing right in front of me. My soulmate, the love unfound, the one I had to find yet didn't know existed, the one that had to enter my life and become a part of it, to unveil my true happiness. Quoting the book, that is. I wasn't that much of a poet. I just called him my man. My man. He was tall, sadly not blonde, but handsome. Yeah, he was definitely handsome regardless. He had big brown eyes like mine, clearly destiny, a shapely nose, regular jaw, low eyebrows that made him look a little dangerous, a little mysterious. He was dressed in unusual blue clothes, but it wasn't the fashion common in Ekera, so that was good news. And he also definitely wasn't a ghost. I raised my hand and waved shyly. "Hello," I said. And then it hit me. It hit me like a wall of bricks on a conveyor rail. It was insane to just tear someone out of their day. summon them to some hole, and then say you were the love of their life. Would I believe someone who did that to me? What if the summonee was taking a bath, or worse? My goodness, I was weird, wasn't I? Shit, what have I done? And more importantly, what do I do now? While my mind was throwing itself for a loop, frantically searching for some magical words that could solve the kerfuffle, the man I summoned spoke. Irini? This time, my heart froze solid in my chest. How do you know my name? I stuttered out. So it is you? He asked. Oh gods, finally! I've been looking for you for ages! He shouted and straight up launched himself at me. I squeaked, but failed to dodge the assault and ended up trapped in a hug? Holy Beaver King, what was happening? He'd been looking for me? How? Why? You wouldn't believe what I've gone through to find you, he said as he released me from his grasp. I've gone to Ekhera for information, and I lived there for a month. If that's not sacrifice for the cause, then I don't know what is. He was beaming. It was hard not to notice he had a beautiful smile. Focus, woman! The situation didn't make a smidge of sense. You were looking for me? I asked. I was! Oh, this is beyond awesome. Good thing I wasn't asleep. Who knows if it would happen then? Why are you acting like you were expecting this? I blinked at him. I am more surprised by it all, and I was the one doing the summoning. His shapely eyebrows rose up. You what? He looked around at the scene of the crime. Oh my. I thought it was something I'd done that finally worked. What? What did you do? Wait, what is this? He leaned down to pick up my book. Woohoo! He hooted like a thoughtful owl. I used it to summon you. I managed to rub two brain cells together and answer the question. Whatever. I didn't know exactly what I'd expected, but it had not been this. You used the ritual from this. He showed the book to my face. You're sure? Yes, I'm sure. You're here, aren't you? He puffed up his cheeks, then let the air out with a whoosh. Well, let me tell you, you got lucky. But first things first, let me introduce myself. I'm Carrion. Lucky? Lucky how? I blinked and processed his words. Wait, Carrion? Like a carcass? Carrion, carcass, I could have ended up with either, honestly, a dice roll. He drew his lips in an expression of an utterly defeated man. With a K, by the way. So it looks like a name, and I can try to lie to myself for the rest of my life that I am in fact not named after a dead body. Why would someone call their child Carrion? He shrugged. To satisfy the craving for darkness and decay in their lives, why else? I honestly wasn't sure if he was being sarcastic or if it was the actual answer to my inquiry. Carrion. My soulmate was called Carrion. Sorry, Carrion with a K. Oh well. There always has to be a hurdle, and now it's revealed. Smooth sailing ahead. Maybe? Okay, but wait now, I said. What did you mean by I was lucky? Carrion handed me my book. You fell into the Omicron trap, he said, nodding at it. There is no shame in it. The Omicrons are made for the sole purpose of screwing with people like you. The Omicrons? Not something Nomicons? Aye, Omicrons. You've never heard of them? I turned the book around in my hands. It didn't have a readable title, just those fancy runes and Fairy's name. God damn it! I knew it was good to be true. Can't say that I did, I admitted. I bought this on the market a few months ago, when we were touring Sevan. Then again, the summoning worked. The mage that created those did not think that non-mages deserved a book of spells, so he created a bunch of traps to, trap those that think otherwise. But it worked. You're here. Carrion made an odd grimace. That's why I said you got lucky. Really, really lucky. Could have well summoned a wild bandit, a pile of manure, or an inversed pig. I don't know, but I've studied on Karatana for 15 years, and I've seen enough Omicron experiments to know that these spells are not meant to work as intended. They're meant to slap you in the face. But for whatever reason, it failed to fail. So what do we care, right? The grimace disappeared, replaced by a grin. You and me, we're finally together. Finally together. Something about these words and the way he said them made it all click for me. I'd been waiting for him, and he'd been searching for me. I didn't need to panic about the insanity of my plan. I didn't need to play any games. He understood everything before a single excuse left my mouth. It was as if we'd known each other before. As if we were... Dare I say it? Screw it, I do. It was as if we were destined for each other. And why not? We lived in a world of magic and prophecies. Who's to say only heroes get to have a destiny? Sure, he was named after a carcass. And he'd studied on Karatana long enough to be considered a mage. But I found him now. And he was happy that I did. Because he was my love unfound. Because I was no longer on my way of becoming a spin... No, that word shall not be worded, not even in thoughts. The ritual worked. The curse was broken. Carrion stepped out of the summoning circle, heart, and walked over to the window to peek at the street. So, by the way, where is this here place? He asked. Where am I? I'm sorry, I'm just so excited I'm losing words. Foxfen, Western Marand. Foxfen? I know this area. I've never heard of Foxfen. That's gotta be new. 1 second. He pulled some sort of device out of the pocket of his pants and pressed a few buttons. The map says we're in Beaverbog. He looked up at me with one raised eyebrow. Fucking Beaverbog. We have sent 1 billion letters to the government to officially rename the settlement, but no, of course they couldn't. Let the people rot as slimy peasants from a beaver bog. Why won't you? To hell with it. I'll be a girl from the beaver bog for him, and then he'll learn that I'm a girl from Foxfen, and we will face this life together. I smiled my first genuine smile, and then I did something crazy. Because, love makes you do crazy things, and I was ready to love him. I stepped right to him and kissed him with burning passion. Carrion stiffened up and jumped away. Oi! What are you doing? He wiped his lips, and in that split second, I suddenly understood why people said their hearts break. He told me, Look, I know the folks from Karatana might be into this sort of thing, but I really don't identify with them this much. Ew. Ew, I repeated faintly. That's needlessly hurtful. I'm sorry, it was an impulse. I know, it just felt like we had a connection, and the spell said... I began to ramble. Well, now we have a connection. Carrion frowned and tilted his head. I'm your brother. My brother? Yeah, what did you think? Honestly, I'm glad it wasn't that, given your reaction. But who did you try to summon then? Oh, screw you, Omikon. Screw you, fairy. Screw you, Mrs. Konba. I will get you all. I will get you all good. For I am not done. I am not done. But honestly, I should not be surprised either.